Well, Mike, pleasure to meet you, buddy. Even though it's from a distance here, we're kind of doing it electronically. But what are you doing all the way up in Austin now, other than seeing that
Coming to see my
white,
buddy.
pasty little skinny guy?
Yeah, he was my first customer after going back in business for the third time.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I
Was
knew
that the
of
Celine?
him.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Sonic Blue, Charles's old car. That, funny enough, I've had back in my possession 3 times, give or take here or there. But yeah, it was. Well, man, I wasn't going through my health stuff yet.
No,
it's kind of crazy how that worked out, which will be a good, I think, conversation to have. So you said third time.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with number 1 and 2?
Well, I mean, when in business in 90, of course, it all starts with street racing. And then, you know, I started a DBA with my buddy because we both worked at Chief Auto Parts together. And so we called it Texas Jam, which was Jeff and Mike. And, you know, we started the business so that we could get parts for a, you know what I mean? Because when you call up shops and you say, hey, you know, I'm looking for some axles or I'm looking for some gears. This is Mike with Texas Jam. Oh, you're a business. Yeah, we are. You know,
Texas Jam.
You want me to fax you over the?
Do you have a logo of Texas Jam?
Oh yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to put that in because that's kind of that screams nostalgia.
Yeah. I mean, every Mustang that was worth anything, and back in the early '90s, all had a Texas Jam sticker across the windshield. And we used to have a Texas Jam list that we would, you know, and I wanted to do this again. And I talked to my boys about doing it again, but you know, we had a top 10 list of your ETs and mile per hour that we had at the shop. And man, it worked so good with customers coming in going, man, I'm only a 10th behind Joe or what have you. And man, they'd spend more money and we go to the track. Of course, that doesn't work anymore. Don't have a track.
What was the parts store called in Fast and Furious? It was like, that's all I can think of when you say that.
Oh, Racer's Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Racer's Edge.
Yeah, and you're doing something wrong if you weren't buying parts from there. So you guys were the real deal of that.
Yeah, we were. My competitor, it was so funny because I wasn't in business, but we had the name and we were working out first out of Jeff's house. And then we got kicked out of there from his parents. So then I had to go to my house and I had just bought a house. And then we got kicked out of there from what's it called? Zoning.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the zoning. And you know who turned us in was our competitors who were a legitimate business called Ford Performance Shop. So
they actually called themselves Ford Performance Shop.
But they backfired on them because then that forced me to go pay $370 a month rent. God, what I would give to have that again. But I'll never forget having the conversation with my wife. You know, rent is $370 for this 1,500 square foot spot. You know, what if we can't afford that?
Like 25 cents a square foot.
It was good.
It's like nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was 1992, by the way.
Wow. So was it always Fox body?
Yeah. Yeah. That's all it was. I didn't know.
But like was that car number 1?
That was it.
So what was your first?
No. My first car was a 77 Trans Am. My first race car or, you know, hot rod.
Right.
And so it was a 77 Trans Am, but I used to get my ass whipped by all the Fox bodies out street racing. So it got totaled, and that's another whole long story, but it got totaled, and that's when I got my first Mustang. Of course, I bought the wrong one. I bought a convertible GT.
But you were going for the ladies, not for the...
Nah, I had my lady. Mile. I had my wife.
All right.
But, you know, it was...
So how long have you guys been together?
Which one? This wife?
Yeah.
This one, we've been together since 2001. What?
1, 2, 3. Which wife are we talking here? Yeah.
This is wife number 3, but this is my keeper.
Okay, so 3 businesses, 3 wives.
3 wives.
All right.
But the third wife was around for 2 of the businesses. So anyway, so long story short, I sold it. Hey, because you know, when I got in this business, it was one of those deals like there's no way I'm doing this shit for the rest of my life. Like this was just a, you know, part-time, have fun, go out and race. And you know what I mean? I raced to stay in business, and I was in business so that I could race. And so, you know, in my mind, where I made a lot of mistakes was I always thought this is not what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. So I always had well, what's next? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what was next for me was to become a San Antonio police officer. And so I literally sold my business in 2001 so that I could chase the SAPD dream. And that didn't work out.
Now, was that like you were wanting that change,
Yes,
that transition?
Absolutely.
Because that's sort of like when, I don't want to say Fox Bodies dipped off, but like the value definitely wasn't.
I mean,
or was it different there?
no, it was different there because it was still blowing and going. I mean, we were busier than ever. We were expanding, but man, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing because, then realism hit, the facts of life. So during that same time, my first wife is dying of cancer.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
she had breast cancer, and we were together when we first realized that something was going on, but we were already divorced once we were diagnosed, or she was diagnosed. And so, but it was a bad deal. When you're in the middle of all this, you really don't think about it. You do, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not much reflection. It's just a damn. But she ended up passing away 5 or 6 years later. And so anyways, but we were divorced. And so now I'm with my second wife, she was just, fun to be with, but you should have never married her. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I mean, and she's a great mom. She really is, but that didn't last long. But the problem is I ended up meeting my current wife during that, tumultuous time. And I knew that she was the one.
So do you feel like the second wife, like was she almost like a rebound to the first
Not even
one?
a rebound, because my first one was the best thing that's ever happened to me at the time. I was definitely dating up. I mean, she was a very sophisticated woman. She was a professional tennis player.
All right.
And she was me being responsible. You know what I mean? I was like a child to her. You know what I mean? Like, no, you can't, just because you have checks in your checkbook doesn't mean you can write a check for the pizza. You know what I mean? But that's how my dad was. You know what I mean? If we had checks left, we had money left. And it doesn't work like that, obviously. So anyways, and so my second wife was completely the opposite, irresponsible as all can be. And man, we had a lot of fun together. But it was just, we had 2 children together. My son, who I'm in business with right now, that's his mom. And, and she's a great mom. But we just couldn't make it work.
Right.
So, but anyways, I met Lisa during this time. Well, anyways, let me back up. So we're getting kind of
Hey,
ahead of
Mike,
ourselves.
sorry to interrupt you, buddy. While you're backing up, what were you doing when J&M started? Because I'm kind of sensing that was a bit of a side gig for you. Something else was probably paying the lion's share of the bills.
I was mainly unemployed. I remember I said I had a job at Chief Auto Parts. And, I'm 21 at this time, by the way. I'm 20 and 21 years old at this time. And so, but I also sold insurance and investments, believe it or not.
That's relatable for you, Gary.
I even had my
it
series.
is, but I'm kind of giggling to myself because I'm going, street raiser, police officer, and insurance.
Yeah,
These
I know,
are 3
right?
things you don't usually hear in the same conversation.
No, you don't. But so anyway, so I sold the business in 2001. And during that time, I was also, I told you I met Lisa.
Yeah.
And was going to do the police officer thing. And I was this close. I mean, SAPD, believe it or not, is one of the hardest police forces to get on in the country, because they do a lot of background check stuff. And back then I really didn't have a whole lot of skeletons in the closet. You know what I mean? I wasn't worried about that. But I also realized financially, because at that time I had 4 children. When I was going to do the SAPD thing, I had 4 children already. And what they were paying and what I was going to be making to pay for child support and, all those fancy things wasn't going to work. So we ended up going back in business, in 2002.
So this is like over the span of a year. So it's like you're going through all the, like, were you training and doing all these things?
I mean, I was in the best shape of my life. I was running. I passed their physical stuff. I passed their background. I passed their, their credit checks. They go and talk to neighbors. You know, quick funny story about the SAPD. So they made you give 10 referrals, right? We're talking about addresses, phone numbers of 10 people that they can go talk to. And so you're going to pick, you know, the people that, hey, man, you know, my uncles, they said it could be family, it could be neighbors, it could be friends. So I put it together. It took me a while, too, to put it all together.
Which ones are not going to talk shit about me?
Right. No, but remember, back then, I mean, I really didn't have any problems. I didn't have any enemies. So I remember sliding that across the desk to the man. And I remember him grabbing it in all one motion, and he flips it off to the side, and he goes, well, these are all the people that we're not going to talk to. Damn.
Yeah.
So they went and dug up, you know, neighbors that neighbors across the street, you know, old teachers, you know, people I've been in fights with. I mean, just all sorts of stuff. But anyway, so that didn't work out. So we started the business again, and I want to say into 2002, something like that. And then my first wife passed away in 2004.
Okay.
And then I got our two daughters, because we had two daughters together, Carly and Hannah. And then Lisa and I had them full time. And so that was kind of a break in my racing to where I didn't do anything for, you know, 3, 4, 5 years.
So how did the mentality change from that? I'm not supposed to be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing that.
It's still the same.
Oh, really?
It's still the same.
So now it's just, this is what I know. This is what I'm good at. This makes money.
So here we are in the second business, and the second business was called Murillo Motorsports, because the first business, Texas Jam, we had sold, right? And so they weren't using that name, but they own that name. And so the second business, Murillo Motorsports, you know, it started going, and it was blowing and going again. Within just a year or two, we were just taking off. But once again, my mentality was, this is not what I want to do. Not what I think I should be doing. This is not what I want to do, because I want to race. I want to race full time. I feel like I have what it takes. You know, we had already won multiple championships at the time. And so I finally got that, you know, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
You know, and that all kind of happened in the end of 2012, 2013. We had just doubled up on a championship with NMCA, NMRA. Again, we had done it 2 years in a row. So we won 4 championships in 2 years. And then, so we're just coming off that, but then same thing. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something new. And so when 2013 came around, I was kind of a hired hand to drive a pro mod. And we started with the XDRL, the defunct XDRL that didn't last even a full season. And so anyways, I ended up getting caught up with the Street-Outlaw guys, and that's kind of where that all started, you know, in 2013, 2014.
Right. So like, and I guess because when Street Outlaws came out, that's sort of reality TV in general was sort of like on the rise. So
for sure,
like it would have been very organic. It wouldn't be like, well, me and Gary, who's like, oh, maybe one day our YouTube channels could turn into an actual show or something. Like you were just there was nothing to compare it against. It was just
no
real. It was actually real back then, right?
Bottom floor. Yep.
So was there anything like, because everybody loves drama and all that, like, was there any of that like in the production or the?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It was some of it organic, some of it, you know, the production company, and, you know, and this is what I resent probably more than anything now, being, you know, all grown up and now knowing what I really want to do. But, you know, back then, you know, one of the problems that I had that kind of, once again, something pulling me back was, I'm an introvert naturally. Believe it or not, I really am. But I'm also loyal.
They're laughing.
I'm loyal. You know what I mean? Like if you and I are friends, we're friends. You ain't got to worry about me walking out that door and talking shit about you. You know what I mean? Or plotting your demise. But, you know, a lot of people aren't like that. And so, and a lot of guys on that show are not like that. There's a few of them that are really good guys, but they're a pack of wolves. You know what I mean? You get them all together, and we all kind of know what that's like on the, you know, back in school. So I had a big problem with that because I didn't know who I could trust. I really didn't know who was my friend, who wasn't my friend. because these were all new friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really was disheartened. I guess what I'm trying to say is I really couldn't give it my all, because I'm also, you understand, by this time I'm already into the, third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter of my career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't have time for that bullshit.
How did that change? Like, obviously you've been in racing so long, people knew who you were. And then TV comes in, and it's probably people that aren't at a racetrack or don't read racing magazines.
People that raced knew who I was.
Yeah.
But the crowd, the fans that show brought, they didn't know who I was, because they weren't into Mustangs or NMCA, NMRA, Fun Ford Weekend. I mean, you know what I mean? They didn't know that. So it was kind of a new experience. You know what I mean? It was just a lot different.
And how were those fans like that enjoyed the show, or like enjoyed you because like you're a character essentially? Like, was it neat to see that you're kind of opening up the spectrum of racing to people that didn't know much about it?
Oh yeah, of course. And you can say what you want about the show, but that show was the shot in the arm for the motorsport community that it needed at that time. It really was. It served its purpose. It made a lot of guys household names. So I'm happy that I was able to experience that, but at the same time I was ready to stop.
And did that experience, did you feel like you were doing what you were supposed to be doing?
No.
So still you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing?
No. Because I mean, I was on a TV show, but it's one of those deals that it's not going to last forever. I mean, MASH ended. You know what I mean? I mean, Happy Days ended. All these shows that we've grown up on, my generation, we all know that stuff ends. And so, my whole thinking was I was almost paranoid the whole time, going, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Because this can't be it. You know what I mean? And I'm also getting older, so I know this isn't going to last. What am I supposed to be doing? God, I don't want to go back in business. I mean, I don't want to deal with customers again.
Right.
You know what I mean? But as we got closer to it, and then of course, I got sick, and I don't want to get ahead of anything, but everything is in perspective.
Yeah.
Everything is in perspective. So, me getting out of the show, it all kind of happened at the same time with my cancer diagnosis. And, but I can say this for the first time, and I'm just turned 58 years old. Yeah. I know that this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And it's what I want to do. I'm more involved now with my customers than I've ever been in all 4 different versions of being in business.
Crazy. So how did that change?
Can I?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Sorry, boys. I was just I'm kind of catching all this, couple of these stories now on the tail end of them all, and I'm asking you to go back now. But Mike, I was curious, how did the show, did the show find you? Did you find the show? How does that all unfold?
It's kind of, okay. So it kind of all got started. Of course, this is my memory. But it all kind of got started when Justin and Sean, Big Chief and Murder Nova, had gone turbo. Because if you remember when the show started, I think they both, maybe Sean was Pro Charger, but Big Chief was nitrous. And so they had both gone turbos on their car. And I can't remember if I was, recommended to them, but that's kind of how we all got together. That's how it all, and it wasn't for me getting on the show. It was for me to possibly help them with their turbo combos and to come and tune some vehicles for them at their shop, Midwest Street Cars. Okay. So that's kind of how it all got going. And to be honest with you, I never expected, our car to get on the show. And the reason why I never expected that, because we were sponsored. We had sponsored decals. If you remember in the beginning, all those guys, they got help or they would get sponsorship, but they would never have stickers on their cars. And, that's again, back to, I'm not going to do that.
Or you'd have to put tape over all your stickers for TV.
Put tape over it was mainly WW dot stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't have that kind of stuff. So anyways, it kind of just snowballed into, me making, I think Chief made a comment. He goes, that would be so sick to have LaFonda run on the show. And I said, oh yeah, that would be badass. But I thought he was just messing around. And then it all happened.
Where did the name LaFonda come from?
From Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay.
So
I always wondered too.
Yeah. So back when I was in business the second time, and during my 4-year hiatus from racing all over the country, I was doing street stuff, and man, I was having a blast. I built the Corvette. I built, Cracker, our GT, that I think that's the #1 favorite car that I've ever built. But I was still building the notchback, big tire notchback car, or bigger tire, the W tire car. I was still building that, but I was going to take 4 or 5 years to build it. And so I was gathering parts as we were going, and then eventually put it together. But I got this crazy idea, and man, I was just so hung up on it. I'm like, we are going to put the turbos in the trunk. We're going to get this 50-50 ratio, and I'm going to mess all these dudes up, right? And the problem at the time was technology. The converter technology was nowhere near what it is today. And so I caught on fire 5 or 6 times. And then finally, the last fire that we had, we were at San Antonio Raceway, and I was like, that's it, man. We're going to put the turbos up front. But anyways, we got the name. Somebody, I forget who came up with the name. I think it might have been one of our crew guys, but because of all the junk it had in the trunk, the turbos were back there. The intercooler was back there. I mean, you open up the trunk and it's just stuff full of turbos and intercoolers and piping. And that's a lot of junk in the trunk. And at the time, Napoleon Dynamite was one of the favorite movies ever out. And somebody called it LaFonda, and I guess it just stuck.
Oh,
amazing.
So speaking of fires and everything, what about wrecks? Close calls.
Yeah, so I had my first major wreck of my career was down in Edinburgh in 2015, and that's what we get. Karma's a bitch, because they were fixing to have a race there, and so I decided I was gonna, because Freddie, my buddy, ran the track. We're gonna go test. You know what I mean? It's not that it was illegal; it was just probably a little unethical. So we decided to go down there. I decided to go down there and test, and there was no ambulance, no nothing. And man, that could have ended badly. But yeah, ended up hitting the what are they? Not the concrete
Divider?
wall, but no, not the pylons. Hit the wall basically, but it wasn't a wall. It was guardrail. Hit the guardrails and flipped over, rolled 3 times. And I'll never forget, because my fuel tank is on the front, right between the turbos, and I went nose into the guardrail, and I'll never forget holding on to the steering wheel as I'm flipping, going, please don't catch on fire, please don't catch on fire. And I remember, I knew I'd rolled a few times, but when it landed, I remember sitting there, and you're kind of gathering yourself. And I remember looking over and said, oh, thank God they're here already. They got the door for me, because the door was open, right? And so I go to get out, and I'm looking, the door was just gone. I thought they were Johnny on the spot, man. But just the door had come off. So, but yeah, so that was my first one. And then I never had any major crashes. I had a bunch of close calls. But yeah, I was fortunate enough not to have it. And then I had a big fire in 22, but yeah, nothing crazy.
Well, that's good. Jeez.
Hey,
yeah, you could only imagine.
Oh, sorry, boys. I guess this is probably a pretty good time to maybe get into the deeper end of stuff, because hearing you say that all the way along, you never really knew what you wanted to do. You just knew that whatever you were doing wasn't what you wanted to do. So you're always seeking, but then whatever, a handful of minutes ago, you alluded to the fact that you've now figured that out, what you want to do for the rest of your life. So and I know you got a lot of things that are probably going to factor into this, health and time and perspective and everything else, but I'm really curious, maybe when that light bulb moment happened and you were like, yep, this is it. Because to spend all those years previous going,
right,
I'm doing all right here. Like, this is pretty good. I'm paying the bills. I'm having fun, but it's not what I want to do. To like 180 degrees the other way, you're going, this is it.
Quite a few factors. Again, remember we talked about, I knew this wasn't going to last. Then I get sick. But another huge factor in it was, so remember I told you about my two children from my second wife. Well, one of them is my oldest son, Michael, who's 25 now. So when I was on the show, we went for 2 or 3 years straight that we were probably on the road 7 months out of the year. And the last couple years we would fly home maybe for special functions, you know what I mean? But we were gone most of the time. And so, you know, my relationship with my oldest son, because he lived with his mom, you know, it wasn't strained, but I just didn't see him all the time. So, and I guess the other thing, remember I said, this is really not what I want to do, because none of my children were into this. You know, we have 4 daughters and 2 boys, and obviously the girls aren't really into it. And, you know, William didn't come along until 2010. That's our youngest son. But during this time, Michael never really showed an interest in it, even though he had a Fox body that his mom bought him, and then Dad made it a 10-second car. But, you know, he really, to me, he didn't really show a lot. And I'm sure the hell wasn't going to force it on him or push him in it. You know, I wanted better for him, so to speak. But the last 2 years when we were off, you know, chasing this dream, he ended up quitting his job, and he was working out of our race shop back home. You know, when we come home and, you know, have to build, get ready for the next season, you know, we had a shop that we rented. And so he had started his own business, and he called me up one day and he says, "Hey, Dad, do you mind if I call up Murillo Motorsports?" And I'm like, "Of course not." Well, I forgot to tell you. So we sold Murillo Motorsports back in 2015. So we sold my business for the second time, right?
Right.
So in 2015, at the end of 2015, we sold Murillo Motorsports to a couple guys that worked for us. Anyways, well, they had gone out of business during this time at the same, also, while we were on the road and hardly ever here. So Michael said, "Would you mind if I called up Murillo Motorsports?" I said, "No, it's your name." So he had gone in business while we were gone. So when I finally got off the road and, you know, sidelined with the cancer, knowing that the show was on its last leg, you know, this is in 2022. Of course, we went through COVID, all that stuff, almost died from COVID too. Anyways, Michael was in business. So that was another reason for me to come home, because what am I going to do? Am I going to go bank? I'm not a banker. You know, am I going to go teach? I'm not a teacher. I'm not even a mechanic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I know how to work on this stuff, but you know, you give me an Audi or a you know, an F-150 that, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it was different. It was different. I knew how to work on what I had. But so we started the business up again in 23. Yeah, because we got off the road in no, at the end of 23. I'm sorry, at the beginning of 24.
Yeah.
And that's when you came to visit us. And so that was my getting back. And I was, even when I met you back at the beginning of 24, I was like, man, this is just until I can figure out what I'm going to do.
Still, hey?
Wow. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. It wasn't until, I want to say, midway through 24. But, you know, the whole thing is me. You know, I was the only person holding me back. Nobody else was. Oh. Amber's missing again.
We're getting,
so, but once, you know, it's almost like a guy that goes to prison, you know, when he finally realizes that he's not getting out anytime soon, that's when he can settle into, you know, the prison life. But,
right.
You know, but I mean, I don't know another analogy to give you, but, you know, it finally made me reflect and say, you know what, go for it and go in hard. And I am all the way in now. I mean, I have so many things that I want to do. That's why I love, you know, dealing with Chris and, you know, the things that he does, because man, I'm not just here so that I can, make a little money and then get back out on the road again. I really have no interest in doing that at this point. It can change tomorrow, but.
So you feel like you were just fighting
Yes.
what was natural? Like you just didn't want to accept it?
Yes, for sure.
Man, that's crazy, man.
For sure. It's never too late.
It is. I was going to say, Mike, because there's something that, just quick little background on me. I, as far as I'm concerned, am doing the thing that I'm meant to be doing in life. And I get the question all the time from people, well, how do you find that thing? Because it seems like there's more people looking for it than people that have found it.
Yes, sir.
And I said, the way that it works for me is I started asking myself, if money wasn't an option or wasn't a concern of mine, so hypothetically, let's say I won the lottery, what would I do the next day once the lottery winnings had set in? And it's this.
Right.
So like this was sort of my cheat code to figuring that out. Whereas I don't know, like I'd be curious to know if that was a thought of yours, something along those lines.
Yes, it was.
Or was it? Because like I was going to ask you, like, if you won the lotto where money was never a concern of yours ever again, would you be doing what you're doing right now?
But the difference was pre-93 or 94, I would say, is that, I'm sorry, 2024. Yes, 2024. Is that I absolutely did not enjoy working on anybody else's stuff. I enjoyed working on my own stuff because it was a full-time job. It's a full-time job to, like, most people have literally no clue what it takes to build a championship team year in, year out. It is.
Oh yeah.
It is daunting. It is. Then the help that you have to have is just, and it just gets worse every year because now you got to go faster. Now you got to make more power. You know what I mean? But I never enjoyed when I had to, I enjoyed tuning, I should say. But when I was tuning, it was I'm done. It's almost like being a grandparent. You have a good time with the grandkids and the cars, but then you send them home to their parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy making sure that a car was exactly where it needed to be. And man, there's a switch now that's been turned on me. Now, and my guys are here, they can tell you, like, they're the ones saying, hey, we need to pull the Fonda out of the trailer and let's work on it. I'm like, no, leave it in there. We got stuff we got to catch up on here. And it was for all these years, it was the opposite. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about the health thing, because obviously it hits home to me quite a bit. Like, how did that go down, and what was that like? Because I can say personally, like I knew it was going to hit me one day because it's in my genetics. So it was just a matter of when.
Right.
But no matter how much you prepare yourself or try to, it's just like, it's shock. Like you're in disbelief or whatever. So like, what was it like for you?
So it's not in my genetics. I have a very healthy mom's side of the family, and extreme, besides diabetes on my dad's side of the family, which is very common with Hispanics. But it was not in my, like, having heart problems or any of that was not in the equation. But I was leading a very unhealthy life. And where this all started, in my opinion, was the shop that we had. So our second time around on Murillo Motorsports, we had a dyno. I purchased a above ground Mustang dyno, which is what we still have today. But it was literally up against the wall in the back of the shop. And ventilation sucked. But when you're young and dumb, I was breathing in dirty, rotten race fuel, soot for 15 years straight. And it was so bad that we now have a CO2 or a carbon monoxide, real fancy one that our doctor friend customer of ours gave me. But I couldn't even have it plugged in at the other shop because it just went off all day. And so I literally unplugged it and put it into a drawer. I still have that machine, but it's on this dyno this time around, and it sits right by the computer. And every once in a while it'll go to 10, 20, but it won't ever go off anymore because now we have good ventilation. So I feel like that's probably what did me in. But where I finally realized that I was sick was it was in the summer, end of the summer in 22, and I'm just feeling like shit, man. I mean, I kept thinking that I had COVID again, because we'd just come off of COVID. And by the way, I was hospitalized with COVID for a week straight, and I was the only patient on our floor that survived. Everybody else died in all the rooms and beside me, down the hall. Everybody died on that floor except for me. And so get out of COVID. And I got to be honest with you, when I got out of COVID, that was the most euphoria. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but man, I wanted to save the world because I felt like I was just on the brink of death, and I survived. And, I mean, I wanted to give a hug to everybody, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget Boosted, who's a good friend of mine, Boosted GT, Chris Hamilton. I'll never forget me telling him, or how I felt, and he was on the phone. He goes, "Well, man, I sure hope you can keep those feelings." And I remember thinking, "You negative Nelly, of course I am." But anyway, so fast forward, so now we're racing, we're gone. There's no break. I mean, you are from one city to the next city. Well, we happen to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we're at the Mills. Tara, Dwayne Mills, Callie Mills were at their house. And again, I had not been feeling good for weeks. And, like during this type of season, allergies are always bad. And I've never been a spitter. Like I'm not one, that's nasty. I feel like, when you pull and you spit loogies everywhere, that's nasty. But during this time, I feel congested or what have you. And so I just happened to, it was in the morning, and I felt some congestion, and I popped up a loogie, and I just remember spitting it on the next to the trailer, and something caught my eye. And I remember looking at it going, "Oh, did that come from me?" And it was a lot of blood. It wasn't just a little bit. I mean, it was, the whole spit was red, and a bright red. So I spit another one, and it was red, but not as red. And so I thought, well, do I have a gum bleeding? I mean, you know what I mean? All those things are going through your head. But the next time I did it again, after I had a little time, just as red. And I remember telling Lisa, I was like, "Man, this, I better get this checked out."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
out of curiosity, when you had COVID, did you have any x-rays or anything that could have?
Yeah, this is very interesting. So long story short, we went and raced in Houston. Houston was the next race. So we had a 2-week break. And so we left Houston and went back home to San Antonio and went to the hospital, went to the doctor, and they did an x-ray, and there's something there. Well, what's so I don't even think I've told you this whole thing. What's so crazy about it is I had fluid on my heart. And there were 16 ounces of it that they drained. Like I have a scar right here that they pulled the fluid off my heart. I forget what the technical term is, but what had happened is my heart had swollen up so much from the fluid that it was rubbing on the cancer, the tumor that was on my lung. And so the fact that the heart was rubbing on that tumor, that's what caused all the blood for me to spit up. And so once they fixed the heart thing, then they realized, "Oh, you have stage 4 cancer. It's on my spine." And I mean, it was devastating. But I'm one of those that, and I've always been like this, and my family's like this, don't tell me just tell me what I got to do. That's all I want to know. Just, what do I got to do? My wife is crying, family's crying. And I'm like, "Man, it's all right. Just tell me what I got to do. I'll do it."
Get my AFR in check.
Yeah. Get it all, figured out. But, so that's when I was diagnosed. So I went from that to so I had heart surgery, right? So they had heart surgery. So I'm diagnosed. I have heart surgery. I have a heart surgery on a Monday or a Tuesday, but I got to be on the road for our race. Our next race is in Tulsa. I got to be on the road by Thursday morning at the latest, because if not, I'm going to be late.
Right.
And the doctor comes in And of course, I'm talking to Lisa about this, and she goes, whatever the doctor says. And I'm like, bull fucking shit. What the doctor said is what I say. I said, I got to go. And so he comes in, it was Tuesday morning. And he said, all right, the surgery was successful, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, you should be, you'll probably be maybe out of here by Friday. And I said, nope, that's not going to work. And he looks at me and he looks over at Lisa and he goes, what do you mean? I said, I got to go. I said, I got somewhere I got to be. This is my job. I said, I only get paid if I'm there. If I'm not there, I'm not going to get paid. So 2 days off of heart surgery, I literally checked myself out of the hospital. I mean, he didn't know what he didn't know what to do. And so, but I was gone. We got on the road and went to the race. And I knew that it was probably unhealthy for me to race anybody because I really didn't want to put anybody in jeopardy. But I needed to be there so I can collect my measly $4,500.
Right.
So what I did was during that time on the show, they had call outs. So I called out my good friend Birdman.
Yeah.
And I already told him, I said, more than likely you're going to whip my ass anyways, but just so you know, I'm going to jump or I'm going to go late or I'm going to do one or the other so that you can, do your thing. And so that's what I did is I called him out and we raced first round. And then I was done for the weekend. You know what I mean? And then we kind of let everybody know around us, close around us, what's going on. Well, nobody in the show knew what was happening. So then the following race, I think we went to Denver, but then we went to Ohio, and that's where it all kind of. So in September of 2022, I'm in a huge fire, and I probably should have died because I couldn't get out. I was so overweight that my belly was sitting on my buckle.
All right.
And I had opened up the buckle to get out, but every time I go to get out, I felt like something's tugging on me. Well, I can't see because the whole inside of the car is full of smoke. And so I'm thinking that I'm still buckled in. So I keep messing with this buckle, it's a turnstile. I get it loose and I go to get out and I'm hung up again. And I did this 3 or 4 times. And finally, Chris, I just gave up. I was like, either they're going to put this fire out or this is it.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, the last time I went to get out, I felt arms underneath me and it just yanked me out. And it was Justin Stad.
Okay.
So anyways, while I'm laying there on the tarmac, eyes are closed. I mean, I've inhaled who knows how much smoke. I mean, it's black under my nose, around my mouth. But I'll never forget they were asking me, do you have any health problems? And nobody on the show knew about my cancer diagnosis.
Right.
And so I'm laying there, but my eyes are closed and I can hear people talking. And I said, yes, I got stage 4 lung cancer. And I'll never forget, it got
a reveal party.
It got so quiet that I opened up one of my eyes to look, see, is anybody here anymore?
Yeah.
And it was Lizzie standing right there, Kai.
Yeah. And
they didn't know what to say. And so anyways, they loaded me up in an ambulance. And
so what were you hung up on?
Nothing. My belly was laying on the strap. And so when I went to get out, it just felt like it was still on. But all it took was me just forcing myself out. And I could have, because normally what I do is when I unbuckle it, I'll grab both sides and do one of these numbers. And I didn't do that. I just unbuckled and then went to try to get out.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's life's a trip,
So you survived that, thankfully.
Yep.
I guess oncology comes in and all this stuff.
Yep.
And
so they come up with a plan. So now we're still racing. So now I want to say we're going to Tucson, Arizona. So we're trying to deal with all this in between events. You know what I mean? Because you got to understand something. This is my paycheck, Chris. Yeah. This was, if I didn't go to a race, I wasn't going to pay the bills.
Yeah. No, I get it. I said this on the last podcast I did, because it was like, and it's not the medical bills and whatever, because you can make money, but if you're not working, you're not making the money to pay the bills. Yeah. So like, that's what takes, that's the hard hit.
Yep. So we went to Tucson, and they, I wish my wife was here because I'm sure I get all this incorrect, but they said they had they were going to fit me for a
port. Yep.
I was supposed to go home for a port. That's what it was. So I knew I had time to, we went from one race, we dropped our stuff off in Tucson, and then Lisa and I jumped in my truck and hauled ass to San Antonio to go have my port installed. That's what it was. And so we get there, and you got to remember, we're driving straight there, next day having what we're going to have done, and then possibly leaving that night to come back, right? So we get there, and we get in the office, the doctor's office, and I just remember it taking a long time. And I'm like, what's the deal? What are they going to, what's going on here? So all they told me was, when they came in, they said, we're not going to install the port. So I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? We just came all the way back home for this.
Yeah.
And then they told us either right then or it might've been the next day that I guess my blood type, or see, this is where I'm gonna get it wrong. Anybody watching will probably know what I'm talking about, but they told me that my type of cancer and my blood type, or whatever was in my DNA or what have you, they could try this new pill or this new drug they wanted to try on me was what it was.
Yeah.
And so that's how that kind of got started. So they tried it and it worked. It worked until it didn't work.
So you actually didn't need traditional chemo.
No.
You just did the pills.
Correct. Yes.
Interesting.
But you would understand this. So even to this day, the amount of stuff that I'm on, what we just talked about on your motorcycle.
Yeah.
I mean, I know age is some of it, but the majority of it is I'm just,
dude,
still
I
not
picked
right.
up the water container out of the coffee maker this morning. Just go fill it up with water, and I pick it up and it just on the floor.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta, like, I can feel stuff again, but it's the whole your brain to your dexterity and everything changes.
Yeah,
for sure. That's crazy, man.
Yep.
So you're free though.
Yes.
You're clear.
Yep. So the first time we had our what's it called? Everything comes back negative. I mean, the medicine was working great. So, and I'm one of those that even during football, even during my racing career, I've never been a raw, kick him in the jaw. It's always been very, because I know that life is a roller coaster, and, you have your victories and you have your defeats. And so when they told me, I think on a 6-month or a year checkup that I'm cancer free, you and I know what that means. That just means that you're good for now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, awesome, but man, and also during this time, I wasn't putting out the videos, telling people what's going on. I don't like doing stuff like that, but I was kind of, pushed into doing it. So we put out a video that, I'm cancer free, and, it went crazy on YouTube. And, I guess I get more out of it, what it does for other people than me, myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think, we did, don't mind Gary. He's actually that white convertible up there. That was his first official customer in Tennessee. So he was like, this guy is going to come pick up his car right in the middle of this. I know.
That's all right.
So he might be listening in the background, but no, it's really weird, because it's like you want to inform people, but it's like, don't put the spotlight on me. Right. Like,
correct.
Let me give you the information that, live a healthier lifestyle, be careful what you do. Don't, just think it's not going to happen to you.
Yep.
So it's like that weird balance, because like same thing for me. I really didn't announce anything, but I do remember, I think it was my last treatment, I did take a photo and I posted it, and it was for awareness, like, because it was sort of like at the end. So, and I don't like not having, kind of like when you were saying with the doctor, it's like, I only want to speak when I have the solution, because I don't want all the questions, because everyone's going to say, well, how bad is it? How long?
Right.
It's like,
if you notice, I hardly ask you anything, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like, and some people just don't get it. I mean, there's some people that'll walk up to me and shake my hand and, how's the cancer doing? I mean,
or you get the person like, oh my God, or like,
yeah,
like they think they feel
bless
so
his-
sorry for you,
bless
like you're
his
dead
heart.
already.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
But
But but I also understand that there are so many people that watch you and I, and they know what we're going through, and they're going through it, or they have a family member going through it. You know what I mean? But it's definitely a road, and you're not doing it by yourself, but you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So. And I think the other really important thing that I try and tell people, it's like, only you are in control. Like the doctors are only going to say so much or what they're trained, but like, and they've got the traditional follow-up timelines and everything,
right.
But it's like, well, if you want to live a healthier lifestyle, or like, if you don't ask the question, you know what I mean? Or you don't do your research, and it's like, you can go too far, you know what I mean? But it's all about balance in the end. And like you just got to look out for yourself.
Yeah, it's you have so many people that they want to help, and there's so many people that you got to talk to this guy, you got to try this or do that. And let me tell you right now, I'm not opposed to trying just about anything, but while shit is working with what I'm on, I'm gonna stay with that and not deviate from it.
Yeah, because it's a mindset, right? Like you have to be, I guess, comfortable with the information, or making the decisions based on the information that you have.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then if like you're not, then you got to kind of do some more, because like you said, you could just get bombarded with stuff, and at the end of the day, it's our choice. So
when they gave me the first, you're cancer free, the bell ringing, all that stuff, I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Did you ring it?
And did the
Okay.
Yep, and did the video. And so fast forward to then the next time that they're checking me, all of a sudden it's back. And that really fucked with me. I mean, really, like that was a kick in the gut, but it's almost like I knew it was coming. Well, since then I've had 2 or 3 now that have all been good, but I still don't believe it. You know what I mean? It's like you're looking, I tell people all the time, having cancer is like you were a member of the cartel or the mafia, and you're just waiting. You're just looking over your shoulder. You know what I mean? You've done some deeds, and you're just waiting. You're looking over your shoulder, and it sucks to live like that. But we're here still. So
right. So the first initial cancer technically was lung that spread.
Correct. Yep.
Right. Because the 4, for anybody that doesn't know, is that it's gone past that organ or into something else.
Right.
And then so when it came back, was it back?
No. So when it came back, it was more of a so the spots that were on my lung, I guess when they're looking at them, they can see them starting to come back alive. And so he caught it. I feel like he caught it before it could even, like, if you're looking at somebody dead on the floor and they twitch just a little bit, then you put 3 more bullets in their head. You know what I mean? That's kind of like what they did with the cancer. They just saw a little bit of a twitch, and then he hammered down on a new drug, and the new drug really messed me up.
Right.
Oh man, that's what I'm still on today.
Okay.
And it's been clean ever since then, but man, it really messes me up.
Right. But you're here.
But I'm here. Yep.
Awesome. Well, let's flip the script a little bit, because obviously cancer is a heavy subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
What, like, if somebody asked you about the importance of the Fox Body Mustang in the world of whatever, motorsports, like, what would your take?
69 Camaro. If I used to compare it to how popular and important that the 68, 69 Camaros were. That's what the Fox Body is, but then some.
Right.
Because there's no doubt that the Fox Body Mustang is to this date probably the most popular, most known muscle car. Some people would argue that it's a muscle car, but to date, out of anything that's ever been out.
And because some that we've had have argued that without the Fox body Mustang, the aftermarket part world wouldn't be what it is.
For sure. Chris, let me tell you something right now. When I got into Fox bodies, and I've already told you, it was because my Trans Am got totaled, but there really wasn't a whole lot of market. So we literally were porting our own mass air. This is before tuning. This is before any of that stuff, you know, but we were porting our own mass air meters. I told you we would cut the ends of the stock intake off, you know, and, you know, port them and, you know, put them back on, and, you know, you go beat somebody that you just lost to by a fender. Now you're beating him by half a fender. And, you know, what did you do different? Oh, nothing. You know what I mean? So, but you know what I mean? There was so little to do back in the very beginning, but for sure.
Yeah.
But how popular the Fox body was, that just blew the aftermarket up.
Which were technically 5.0s back then, right?
Yes.
Right. It wasn't this whole Fox body thing.
Yeah.
5.0. It's
5.0.
kind of weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and it's neat too, because like, obviously there's the whole racing perspective, but I think the versatility, right? Because like I've got the lower, slower versions, and then you think like the wire wheel guys and like all these different things that you can do with them is just so interesting. And we also argue the community of Fox body is really good.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's you know, this wave of new, you know, like my son's generation, you know, this new wave of kids that have these muscle cars, it's a whole different,
right?
You know, just like it was with us, you know, the Fox body and our, you know, 65 and 70 Mustangs, you know, all those guys are totally different than this generation.
And what's your thoughts on Jared? Like, you got some younger guys here working for you. So like, what's your take on like that whole succession planning? Because like we hear about the kids that don't want to drive or they don't care. Like I know I was, the second I could get my license, I was lined up in line, ready to get it.
Absolutely.
I had to learn how to drive a manual. There's no way I was driving an automatic. And now we hear all this stuff, and we got self-driving cars and all the shit. So like, what's your take on the racing, succession, hot rodding, all that?
You know, I'm still, again, you know, because just being back into this world, it's almost like I'm starting all over again, you know, but the customers and the clientele and the this generation is just totally different, man. I mean, I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you. I mean, it is, you're right. I mean, I have several of my own kids that, you know, didn't even have their license till they were 18. You know what I mean? It's just a different situation. I remember I was driving since I was 12 years old. And I mean, there was one time I snuck out my dad's car to go give a yard job to the guy that stole my girlfriend in the middle of the night. And, you know, I just became a freshman in high school, and my girlfriend was the most popular in middle school. But we get to high school, you know, some senior steals her from me, you know, understandably, you know. And so, I mean, I got my dad's car and they were asleep, and I went and gave him a yard job. But anyways, I was driving, you know, back then. And I mean, I couldn't wait to get my license. Could not wait to get my license. And it's just not like that.
That sense of
it's
freedom,
a little bit different.
right? That's what it was, is freedom. And now
I didn't give a shit what I was driving.
Yeah.
I wasn't into hot rods back then. All I wanted was just some transportation.
Yeah. But now it's like, it's a cell phone.
Yeah,
like that's
for sure.
People's freedom, right? Like whether you're scrolling, looking at some other shit, like that's the mindset difference.
Yes, sir.
So
yeah.
Like, do you think there's hope? Because like there's been talk about like the old muscle cars, like there might not be a market for them because it's like the appreciation isn't there or the understanding.
Yeah.
Like, what's your thoughts?
You know,
like, let's say you had a 69 Camaro, right? And you were planning to give it to, like, would Michael have interest in it?
No. I mean, like his Fox body is in storage. You know, he's building a very nice S550, you know, and, but yeah, I mean, it's so funny because when I have these Fox bodies on the dyno, you know, they mainly come over because, you know, we have our North Bay and our South Bay. South Bay is all the new cars.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those guys come up and, they kind of laugh at me, don't they? Yeah. They laugh, oh, what this one put down? 270? You know, it's like, yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
But it's just different. So, you know, the younger crowd, for sure, the interest is not the same, but it's expected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, when I make posts on our Instagram, you know, I'm mainly talking to my generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I look at my analytics, man.
Yeah.
And now, so it was like a perfect split of like 35 to 45, 45 to 55. And now it's slowly 45 to 50. I'm losing them. So, but we're not getting any younger.
But that's where my son comes in. You know, that's why we're doing this thing together. And you know, that's what was so exciting for me, was being able to do this with my family. You know what I mean? Because, you know, my son Michael, he is a diehard. He's into it. He wants to race. He wants to do his thing. And, you know, Dad wants to help him. And, you know, we're a family. And, you know, my wife is she has so many hats on. You know, she's HR. She does a horrible job of HR, though. I mean, I get abused daily from HR department.
She treats the customers real nice.
No, she does. She's good with customers, and she's good with the guys, but, you know, not so much with, you know,
Yeah.
No, she's great. She's great. But, you know, we see each other every day. In fact, what would really work, to be honest with you, if there was somebody that just followed her and I around.
Right.
Because
that'd be a TV show. I'm
it
sure
is. I mean, it really is, because what she says to me and my reactions to things, and I mean, it's really comical. It truly is. But, you know, back to the TV show. So these, you know, my guys, they see how we are every day with one another. You know, like, we'll talk to each other certain ways, and you would think that, oh my God, you know, but it just sounds more serious than it really is. But lo and behold, didn't they catch me reaming her ass, you know, on the show one time? And boy, I got some hate mail.
No doubt.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Don't you ever talk to your wife like that again. I was like, how come they never show how she talks to me?
Yeah. I'm sure the ratings went through the roof, though. You know what I mean? It's like, bad PR is good PR, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, geez. No, that's super cool, man, that, like, you have that relationship and that dynamic and work together. Because, you know, my wife always asks me, when can I quit my job? And I'm like, I don't know if you want to work for me.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's scary.
I might be a mean boss, you know? So, no, that's cool, man. The whole family element, and you sort of got the succession planning. And maybe that's, like, you know, Michael, that probably had a lot to do with changing your mindset.
So. I think it did.
Yeah.
I really do. Because if he wasn't doing it, you know, I mean, William is so into sports right now. That's our youngest son. And, you know, he is going down that road. But, you know, here's the thing about that is, like, when we were on the road, we gave him the choice to be homeschooled so that he could stay on the road with us. And he's like, no, Dad, I want to play football. I want to play basketball. I want to be in sports. And so, you know, we're absolutely not. And that was the other thing too, is my wife, you know, Lisa finally told me, you know, when he started getting into his middle school and, you know, high school, she's like, I'm not missing none of that. So you will be on your own. You know what I mean? You and whoever you have with you out there, you know. So there was so many multiple factors that really kind of flipped that switch for me. But I'm happy. I love what I do now. I truly do. I mean, like I said, they don't know any better. Frankie does, because Frankie's, you know, with me back in 2012, 13, 14. So he knows how I was back then. You know, problem cars, forget it, man. If it's too much of a problem, man, send them down the road. Now I'm on a mission. Like, no, we are going to figure this out. Right. I mean, and it's just, but you have to be all in, or you ain't going to be in at all.
No, we were saying the exact same thing. Yesterday, we were talking about doing a corporate switch. You know, if you want to do your own thing or branch out, there's no, like, 1 foot here or 1 foot there.
No.
Like, you got to immerse yourself. You got to believe in yourself, and you just got to go for it.
Yep. Got to be all in. There he is.
The bearded wonder's back. You missed all
Sorry,
the good
boys.
stuff.
Oh no, I got a funny story. I was going to wait for him to get back. I got a good one.
I'm going to swap out a battery. You can get going. I got one battery to swap out here.
Where did I have this bloody thing? Okay.
You guys need anything?
No, I had a guy coming by picking up his car. I don't know how much of that
Water?
you guys could see, but
Sparkling or still?
Mike, you would have liked this one, dude. White paint, blue roof, white and blue interior.
You said I would have liked that?
Well, I mean, from a nostalgic, classy perspective.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's kind of funny that I guess I bring it up that way because there is so many color combinations that I would have never walked into Ford and checked the boxes for. But now in my mid 40s, I'm like, dude, that is cool as shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know we were walking around here looking at some of this vintage, like there's a CarTech intake here. I don't even know if you know anything about CarTech.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. There's a CarTech intake here that I haven't seen one of those in quite a long time.
Oh, yeah.
CarTech was my first sponsor, by the way.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, CarTech was my very first sponsor. In fact, I didn't even know that they were in town in San Antonio. I knew of them, and I thought they were in Dallas, and of course they were. They just moved to San Antonio, and so but they were my very first sponsor.
Nice.
That's cool.
It's crazy, man. I didn't know Vintage Era was in San Antonio until actually when Gary put Vintage Era in his car. I was like, man, they're just down the street.
Yeah.
So
here's the funny story. So this would have been in 1992.
Oh, I love it already.
So Super Ford magazine, that was, my bathroom up until just a few years ago. Literally was just stacked with magazines because that's where you go read everything, right? So back then there was no internet back then, obviously. So you lived through the Super Ford magazines. And what was the other one?
5.0 Mustang.
5.0 Mustangs. I can't remember if Muscle Mustangs was out back then, but I just remember Super Ford. But so I was running at the time. I had already, remember I told you my first car was the GT convertible. So my first wife, I told her, because I forgot about this. Okay, so I was working part-time. Remember I told you I was, just a broke ass. So I went to go work for a veterinarian clinic. I don't even know if my guys know about this, off of Pat Booker Road. So I'm working at this place because my wife would sit me down and she would like, you really need to, contribute. So I was like, okay, well, let me go get another part-time job. I like animals, so let me go. And so I went and applied at a couple places. I'm telling you, she was like a mother to me, more so than my wife. She goes, well, I'll take you to some job interviews. You know what I mean? So I went and applied for a true story, man. A veterinarian clinic, and the guy's name was Dr. Weir. Anyways, so I get the job, and so I'm working with animals, and once I realized, what a pain in the ass it is to work with just animals, I realized I didn't want to do that anymore either. But during my time there was a used car lot across the street, right? So I had my convertible, and my wife was driving a Dodge. It was a real small compact car. But anyways, a Colt.
Oh, yeah.
So, but she was talking about, she wanted to get another vehicle and get rid of her Dodge Colt. And so anyways, I'm looking across the street and I see the front end of a Fox body, just, the cars are parked like this. And I'm like, oh, look at that. It's a Fox body over there, right? And so I remember leaving from work and I glanced back, and so I could kind of see the side of it because, it's right in the middle of other cars. And I noticed it's a notchback. And I went, what the? No way.
Yeah.
And so I walked across, Frogger across the traffic. I go and look, and I was like, I bet it's a 4-cylinder. I get closer and I said, oh, it's got the 5.0 badges. I was like,
bingo.
No way. And so I look inside, I'm looking in there, and it's got roll-up windows. I mean, it is the lightest notchback 5.0. I'm like, oh, we have. I'm gonna have to talk my wife into this one.
Right.
So I go home and I tell her, oh, she picks me up from work probably. So I tell her, I said, man, I just kind of mentioned.
She didn't let you ride the bus home that day?
Yeah, this is a really neat, 5.0 across the street. Yeah. And so I started thinking about it. I started plotting. I was like, haven't you? She always said she wanted a convertible, right? I said, wouldn't you want a convertible? And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, let's get that 5.0. I'll take that one. And then you can have the convertible. And she's like, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, okay. But somehow, and I don't remember how, but I talked her into getting that car. So she traded in her Colt. So now she's driving my original black Mustang, right?
Right.
So on the way home from that dealership, it's just a used car dealership, and they're still around, by the way. We race, right?
You and the wife.
I'm in my convertible, and it's got headers, exhaust. It's got the 160-degree thermostat. I got equal length shorty headers. You know what I mean? I have all the stuff you can bolt on. I got the pulleys, and it was like this the whole way. I was like, no. And this thing was bone stock. I even had the air silencer in the fender still. I was like, there's no way. And it was because of how light it was. So
and these are both stick cars too?
Yes.
Nice.
So I don't know how I did it, but I somehow talked her into swapping me cars. But she said, we're only going to do this if you take all your drivetrain out of the convertible and we swap. And I did that in an apartment complex parking lot.
Oh, nice.
Changed the rear end because I had 373 gears. Changed the rear end, transmission, motor.
So she had you even with 308s or whatever was in that car as well.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes. So anyway, so we swapped, and I ended up with that car.
Yeah.
So during that time, going to the track, I went to the track probably at least twice a week when they were open. I mean, that was where you go, it was Alamo Dragway.
Right.
And so, but I was running 12, I think I'd gone 1278, 1285, something like that, somewhere in that range. But I kept looking in Super Ford magazine, and I saw this thing called a Vortec, right? So I was like, man, I need that. I need that bad. How am I going to get that? I'm unemployed. I'm selling insurance and investments. I'm not very good at it.
I'm giving dogs haircuts in the afternoon.
Part-time. How the hell am I going to get this? So my wife, she was a member of the school district. And so they have credit unions that are really good rates, all that good shit. So I go to San Antonio Teachers Credit Union in San Antonio without my wife, by the way.
Right.
And I just mosey on in there. This is all true story. Mosey on in there. And I said, yes, sir. How can we help you? I said, yeah, I was just maybe looking at, seeing what I could qualify for a credit loan, a non-secured loan. And she said, well, let's just do some paperwork. And I was like, yeah, what harm would it do? So I filled out the paperwork, and of course my wife, was on there because she's a member of the credit union. So I had already, let me back up real quick. So I had already priced out what the Vortec was going to cost with the Pro M mass air meter that I needed. And it was exactly like $4,500. So I knew that I had to get a loan for at least that. Couldn't be even $100 less than that. It had to be at least that. So she comes back and she goes, Mr. Murillo, you've been pre-approved for $5,000. And I said, are you kidding me? And she said, no. And I said, that's outstanding. Second question I have, can I open up my own account so that you can just take the money out monthly out of that account? And she goes, of course we can. I said, where do I sign?
Right.
So I signed the paperwork because I'm thinking I could keep that credit union. That other account, I could keep it from my wife. I can make the I think it was $125 a month payment. So I'll figure out how to make that, so I'll make the payment. She won't even know about it.
Totally.
She doesn't know anything about cars. Okay. So it's not like she's going to question, you know, what that noise is or what have you.
Yeah, the new alternator.
So, yeah. So I signed the paperwork. Everything's good. I mean, I literally had money right then and there. And I don't remember the details. I think I sent them a certified check. I can't remember. But I ordered the Vortec like the next day, right? Literally. I mean, it got stuff coming. I'm talking to Jeff, you know, we're excited about, we're going to get this Vortec. We're going to install this bad boy. We're going to kick everybody's ass here in town. And like 2 days after everything gets ordered, I remember coming home and she was beside herself. Now, you understand, she's not a yeller. She is like, you really disappointed me. You know what I mean? That kind of woman. She was a very good woman. So she goes, what's going on with this? And she slides over a statement for this loan. And I'm like, I'm not a very good criminal. I didn't think about they're going to send shit back to the house, you know, a statement, you know, congratulations on your signature loan. Congratulations on your signature loan. Your first payment is due. And so she goes, what is this? And I said, oh man.
I was going to tell you.
So I ordered a supercharger. What does that do? That makes a little bit more power. Well, we don't need that. We can't afford that. And she goes, you're going to have to cancel it. And I told her I couldn't. I lied to her. I said I couldn't. They were going to charge me 25% restocking fee. I would lose that money. I said, I just can't. And so she was so upset with me, but I ended up getting that thing right. So it really caused it. It was a sore spot, obviously, between my wife and I. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So it finally comes in, right? So Jeff and I, you know, I worked through her being upset with me. You know, we got it installed. I was so excited, and we got it running like 2:00 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, right? When we first cranked it up, started it up, and that thing whined. It was the original A-trim. It whined. Jeffy, shut it off. Jeffy shuts the car off, and I was like, holy shit, what was that? And he's just sitting in the car looking at me, and I'm like, oh man, grabbing the belt, you know, everything's on me. I said, start it up again. He starts it up. I was like, shut it off. It's like, oh my God, it's defective. So I go to bed that night. I mean, we're talking, I got no sleep because it was, remember, Vortex in California. So I am upset. I'm like, man, the damn thing's defective. My wife wants to divorce me. Oh man, this is not going as planned. So the next morning, I finally get somebody from Vortex on the phone. It was like 10:00 our time. And so I'm telling the guy, you know, Jeff and I are back at the car. By the way, we were at his house. That's where the business started, was at Jeff's house. Anyway, so I'm like, it's making this noise. And the guy's like, what kind of noise? And I'm trying to describe the noise to the guy. And I was like, just hold on a second. And we have one of those white phones with the cord, you know, the cordless phone. Antenna. Yeah. Got that antenna all the way out so it reaches. I said, Jeffy, start it. And Jeffy starts it. And I remember I put the phone and I'm holding the phone on top of the supercharger. I said, you hear that? And I can't hear him. So I'm like, shut it off, Jeffy. Jeffy shuts it off. I said, you hear that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, that's normal. I said, it is? And he goes, you don't like that? I said, no, I do. We hang up and I was like, let's go, baby. And so we went to the track, man. I was so excited. So we go to the track, and my very first pass. Now remember, I'm maybe going to get divorced.
Right.
I've now spent close to $5,000. I go to the track, and remember I told you I went, we'll call it 1278. My very first pass with this Vortec on there, of course, you know, everybody from town's like, oh, look, he's the first one to get a Vortec. It went a whopping 1248.
Oh, no.
Next pass, 1246. It was
shit.
It had an FMU on it. It was so fat. You know what I mean? No tuning. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, it had I think a boost timing deal. I had to buy one of those, you know, and so it just ran like dog shit until we got, you know, a little bleeder valve on the FMU. So that was, you know, technology back then. But, you know, within just a few months, man, we were running some 1030s and 60s with nitrous on it. And so, you know, once I realized she wasn't going to leave me, we were back in business.
Let's go get another loan.
Yep.
Yeah. You won all that money, so you paid off the loan. You were good.
So yeah, I'm surprised she didn't kill me. I mean, there were so many other stories like that.
Oh geez.
All in the pursuit of speed, hey? Holy shit.
Man. Oh yeah.
That's
I tell
wild,
people all the time, and I'm not trying to be crude, but you know, cars in the hot rod community are just an extension of everybody's wiener. You know what I mean? It's their ego, it's all the above, you know, and that's just how it is, man. It's always been like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Funny you bring wieners into the conversation. I always say I always say cocks and shops are the same. Nobody ever builds a shop and goes, God damn it, this thing's way too big.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
everybody would hang out at our house. You know, on Friday nights we would go to the house first and hang out, and then we'd go out street racing. And so I had a garage full of people. And again, my wife, Anne-Marie was her name. Anne-Marie, she was just so whatever. Just you just do what you're doing, whatever. And so, you know, we take our nitrous bottles, and back then, you know, we didn't have fancy heaters, but you know, I would take them into our hall bathroom, and I would just, you know, draw a hot water bath, and I would just stick the bottle in there and, you know, let it sit there for a little bit, and then go put it in the car, and then we're off. And so, because I had people there and I wasn't paying attention, I'm back out in the garage, and I'm like, oh shit, the nitrous bottle. So
it's like putting beers in the freezer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So I run in and go right past Anne-Marie. She's sitting on the couch watching TV, and I go right past her into the bathroom. I was like, oh, okay. As soon as I put my hand on it, boom, it goes off. I mean, literally blew the safety deal. Well, there was 4 or 5 inches of water in the tub. All that was out of the tub and on me, all over the floor. And the bottle had just been sitting there bouncing, boom, 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 off the tub. Nobody got hurt. But I'll never forget walking out of the bathroom like, what is my mom going to say? So I'll never forget, as I walk out of the bathroom and I go down that hall to where we finally could see each other, I'm covered. I mean, we're talking just dripping, right? She had the remote in her hand, and she's just like this, and she looks over at me and just
back to flicking.
Disappointment.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, there's so many of those I'm going to put in my book. There's so many stories.
So, Mike, I was going to ask you, and I hate to do this because I got a feeling that this may have already come up, but how's the health now?
Good. It's good. Yes, sir. It's all clear as of, what did I tell you? Was it 2 months ago? A couple months ago? And now just like me realizing that switch, it's flipped, that, you know, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Now I'm starting to believe that maybe I will be okay. There might be some medicine adjustments that might be needed, but I think I might be okay. Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of when your ticket's punched, it's punched, they say, right?
It's punched. Yep.
There's a million ways. It's sort of like if that fire didn't get you, a wreck didn't get you.
Yep.
It's like, how's that, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely used up my
attitude. Like, you're a positive guy.
I believe in laughter. I mean, I believe that, you know, even the toughest things that happen to everybody in life, you got to make a joke about it.
Like when the car fell off the dyno, you laughed, man.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's all.
What are you gonna do?
And even if it did get fucked up, we'll fix it. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is, man. But yeah, that was really embarrassing, by the way.
Well, okay, let's stay on the more heartfelt things then for a sec. So, okay, another question for you then. I know that there's never ever a good time to like think to yourself, okay, if tomorrow doesn't come, I'm good. Right? Like that's a thought that nobody really wants to think of, but I think it's a pretty powerful thought to have because it'll help you structure your life and your day for that matter in such a way that you can get a lot done. You can tell everybody that you love them. You know what I mean? Like if you do that every day, I think it's one of the best ways to live your life. Now, do you think you're to a point now, business wise, family wise, everything, where if tomorrow doesn't come, you're good?
No. It's not for the first time in my selfish life. Now I'm more worried about if tomorrow doesn't come, is my family going to be okay? If that makes sense. And so I'm not there yet. No, that absolutely not, because I'm uninsurable as far as life insurance goes. So that makes me even more hungry to make this business work, because that's what I'm going to leave behind. You know what I mean? Besides our home and other assets, but I'm not filthy rich. I mean, I don't have inheritance money. So you know what I mean? So if something does happen to me tomorrow, no, we're not okay.
You're not ready. Okay.
Makes me hungry.
So
part of it, I should say.
Yeah. So it's coming more from a financial aspect than anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
But I tell my guys at least once a year, imagine having a real job. That's what we got to remember sometimes. We get to work on cool shit every day. Now, some of it cooler than other, but bottom line, we get to work on hot rod stuff. Imagine if we were at a plant or a punching a time clock. I mean, how miserable that can be at times for people. And I'm not talking down on anybody's job. I'm just saying we are fortunate. We're living somebody's dream. You know what I mean? And so let's make it our own dream. I mean, we all love what we do. There's nobody that works with me or around me that's not doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because you have to be all in. It takes one guy with a bad attitude, one guy in your shop that has a bad attitude, and that for sure, not maybe, that for sure will rub off on the good ones.
That's your shop cancer.
Yes. Yes.
It is.
And
poison the whole punch bowl.
Again, being in business for the third time, there's so many things that I learned from the first time, the second time, and everything in between. And it's not perfect, but it's as perfect as it's ever been for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess for anybody who doesn't know, what is the scope of the shop now?
So we have a weird dynamic right now. So again, me being away from the shop and, off chasing the circus life, when my son went in business, that's his business. Murillo Motorsports is his business, and it still is his business. My son gets to eat everything that he kills. But at some point, either we're going to have to put this together in one and make it work, or all we're going to do is hold each other back. And I'm hoping that it's, we figure out something that's good for him and it's good for us, but we need to figure something out.
Wow.
That's cool. Okay, buddy, and hopefully you guys haven't had this question pop up already, but is there anything you'd do different?
A lot of things.
Skip a marriage or two, or
I have.
Would you have bought that blower again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. But I would have planned a little bit better. You know what I mean? I didn't think I'd be here at this age. You know what I mean? I really didn't. I figured I was going to get killed or something would have happened to me by now, just like all young, crazy kids do. I'm sure they all would tell you the same thing. It's not like I'm Tupac and part of a gang or anything. I'm just, you know, I just didn't think I would be here this long.
Right.
You know, and again, you know, I'm proud of what I do, but you know, it's kind of a niche. You know what I mean? It's not something you can, you know, what he knows and what I know and what you know, you can't go to school and learn those things. You just can't. You can do basics, you know, but you can't. You know, that's why like dealership guys never work in an environment like this. You know, guys that have started off at dealerships and they're so used to working on the same vehicles.
So here's a funny story. There's a truck, Godzilla swap truck. I didn't do the swap, but I knew shop dad did the swap. So this truck comes all the way down from Canada to go to Mike for him to try and sort out drivability issues. And we were thinking the cam was the culprit, loading up with not playing well with the torque converter. And I still remember.
Oh yeah,
I sent the tools and a factory cam down to Mike's shop. And Mike calls me up. He's like, "Man, I got this guy from a dealership here. Like, he has a couple questions about doing the cam swap. Can I put him on the phone with you?" And I'm like, "Sure, man, hand it over." So the guy's like, "Oh, this motor has like a lot of changes that have been done to it," and he just right there, Mike's like, "Give me the phone back, leave. No, you're done. Done." I'm like, I'm just on the other side, like I'm laughing. I'm like, this guy got hired and fired in like 30 seconds.
He said it had performance fuel lines on it. Hoses, performance hoses. I'm like, Chris, I'm sorry about this. No, we're done. We're done. We're done here.
Wow.
So I'll call you back. But I mean,
but
why waste any more time?
But yeah, those dealership guys now, right? Like they just have the standard operating procedures, or they'd say, "Oh, got to follow the SOPs," and it's just sort of like, you know, let the computer tell us what we need to do, and then this, that, and they just don't have that.
To be in the business that we're in, you have to be willing to walk to that ledge and jump off.
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah,
you just
fight with your hands over your eyes.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. And definitely be a real stubborn SOB, right? Like not willing to throw your hands in the air for nothing.
Oh, that's how we are now. We finally figured that truck out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Gary. Thank God Gary was such a great customer. He was a good person. We're, you know, even if he wasn't our customer, we'd become friends with him because he was just so fun to be around. But yeah, that poor guy.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank God. No news is good news, and I hadn't heard from him. And I think Lisa is always good about checking with the customers, and haven't heard from me. Just, you know, how many shops do that? You know what I mean? She'll call them up. "Hey, how are you?" You know, because most of the time, you know, it's like, "Oh, well, I've been meaning to call you," but he said, "Man, everything's great." Because I've been trying to make it fail, and it just still runs great. And I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Why would you say that?"
Yeah.
You know?
Be out there babying it around. No, you got to have that can-do attitude and just a relentless amount of stubbornness to not give up, right? And it's funny you saying like putting that Vortec on your coupe back in the day, and you know, you get it done at 2 a.m, and it's stories like that I know most people that listen to this podcast instantaneously resonate with, because like you could be out there at 2 a.m. trying to get a piece of window trim in your car. And it's like, come hell or high water, this is happening. I don't give a shit if that sun's poking up or not. Like, we're getting this done.
I have so many stories or so many instances of something kicking my ass, and I'll go to bed and I'll come up with a solution. And I'm sure you guys are the same way. I'll wake up in the morning, bing, I got it.
Yeah.
You go out there and boom, that problem's fixed.
Yeah. What sucks though is like you should step away to give yourself that little bit of hey, if I walk away, things will be, but you refuse. You're like, I need to figure this out now. And then you just get more frustrated. And then finally, it comes
because that's that kid that's still talking shit when you walk away. and it, you know, that car is saying, aha, I got your ass, you know, and it's like, no, I'll be back.
Yep.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
Oh,
sitting there
yeah.
cutting wood with a dull saw when you should just park the
Yeah.
cut and sharpen the saw, right? Yeah. But it's true, man. Like, I think that's where it comes from. It's like something occurred back in the day when we were kids or whatever. It's kind of like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, right? When Biff calls him, "What are you, yella?" Right?
Yeah.
It's like if you have one of those moments in life, you're fucked in a good way. Because that's
Right.
what makes us and shops like ours good, because people know that if they bring their car here, we're not going to go, sorry, that's outside of our box. We
Right.
can't figure this out. Like, come hell or high water, this is getting done.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got to. If not, if you don't enjoy what we do, it's miserable.
Yep.
Because if you can't enjoy figuring it out, if you can't enjoy, I enjoy the small things. I enjoy and I'm sure you're like this, especially after looking at your shop, but there are times that I'll be in the middle of a big project and I'll have to stop, put all my tools away, put all these bolts in order, put all these parts in order, and then break, go at it again. And
I do
there's
too.
There's also times that there's too many people at the shop and I will pretend like I'm going home. I was like, all right, guys, I'm beat. I'm bushed. You know, we're going home. And then really, you're going to go home?
You just drive down around.
Just go down. Just stop at the store and get me a Slurpee, you know, and then when I see them driving off, go back and, you know what I mean?
Quiet time. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Mike, so I mentioned before we started recording, we've just been down in Tennessee here for 2 months, and we quite literally moved here with a coffee table and me and my wife's bed. We showed up, we bought the kids, $150 beds. So the wife's been after me to try to furnish the house because, well, we're honestly sitting on lawn chairs. And I'm going, well, I don't know, like, we're just in the early stages of getting this thing off the ground. Like, give me a little bit of time. I overstayed my welcome, finally succumbed to the wife ordering some shit. But in today's day and age, everything shows up in boxes, right?
Right.
And I'm still at the shop till whatever hours of the morning trying to get things going here.
Yep.
I go home the other day and walk into like bolts and fucking tools, wood.
Nothing's assembled.
Oh, dude, it's everywhere. They're sleeping on beds that only got 2 legs on them, you know, like it's a disaster. And I'm like, they go, Dad, you got to help. I said, before anything occurs in here, you guys got to clean this shit up. Like, no one can function in this disaster.
No.
Let's get the bolts in one spot, tools in another. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah.
I got guys that have worked for me that are, you know, like right now, the 2 guys that I have working for me, they're so much like me when it comes to organization that it's awesome. But I've had guys work for me that, and they know where everything is though, but they'll walk through, they'll have, you know, 1/2 inch of ATF on the ground or coolant and kitty litter and, you know, tools everywhere. And I mean, it just, and the older you get, the worse it gets. You know, you're like, oh my God, this is making my brain hurt. I got to go back up front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just, it's funny.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All the shit I used to laugh at my dad about, I do the same thing now.
Oh, it comes full circle.
Yeah. I know we could bullshit for hours, but it would be cool for you to see the other shop.
Yeah.
I know you got your guys here too.
Yep.
So I guess if there's anything in closing.
Thank you for having me. I gotta try to do more stuff like this. It's just change, you know. It's just,
yeah, and it's, you know, I think when you're humble about it, you don't realize the impact that you truly can have on others and that importance. So, you know, I think your story in particular is a good one. So I hope everybody has enjoyed it.
Trust me, we have more subject matter when we do it again, because I have so many things that periodically will come up, and these guys have been with me for a few years, and I'll tell them something, man, we haven't heard that one before. I just so many things that have happened.
Well, maybe we'll drag them into it as well, you know, and they can share some of it.
We got this guy, Dean, that works with us. The best thing I can tell you about Dean is if he wouldn't have been born, Walt Disney would have invented him for sure. I
Cartoon.
mean, there are so many things about Dean that I tell the stories all the time, and then they're like, "There's no way that happened." It happened. It happened. But yeah,
Those are good.
it's all good stuff.
I'll look forward to it, man.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
And very nice
Thanks,
to meet
Mike.
you.
Yeah, you as well, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time.